we own this. This is a Netflix original series. We're like, oh wow, this is legit. What do? We start asking, does anybody know an entertainment lawyer? This is the agreement. If you want it, we'd love to have you, but we're not going to redline a single page.
And I want a good show, damn it. Ready for a good show?
Doing awesome, yeah. I'm excited to talk to you, Angie. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I've always been big into archery, and my dad said, "Hey, you guys want to start an archery store?"
That's how I always do.
Yes, of course. Let's do this together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Show. As usual, I am your host, Andrew Maff, and today I am joined by the amazing John Roman, who is the CEO of Battlbox. John, how you doing, buddy? You ready for a good show?
Good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Super excited to have you on the show. I know we actually were lucky enough to meet at Shop Talk, and I was like, all right, I've definitely got to get this guy on the show. Your background, your story's wild. I always kind of like to start these off relatively stereotypically and give you the floor and just kind of let everyone know like where you started, how you got into Battlbox. I know there's some crazy stuff that happened towards the middle and now where you're at now, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Sure. So Battlbox started in early 2015. Just impeccable timing with the then, decade ago subscription box craze.
Yeah.
Comboed with, the product just not existing in the marketplace. So I came in actually as an investor in Battlbox, pure limited capacity, not leaving my day job. For the previous decade, I had built B2B sales teams. So starting off focusing on more SMB, and I carried a bag, and then it grew into kind of Fortune 2000 enterprise level sales team, just from scratch, building it, targeting cities. So didn't have any D2C experience, it was all B2B. But I loved, the reason I invested in it was because what I knew from B2B is reoccurring revenue is like all that matters, right? And a reoccurring revenue, and it's for consumers, which is a much larger, in theory, easier sale. And so much of it is just done through traditional D2C advertising. So I was super interested, invested, and then it kind of blew up. A year in, I joined full time, and the rest is history. A bunch of years of growth, kind of our peak. Everybody, so many direct-to-consumer brands did well during COVID. Everybody was locked in their house. We did really well during COVID, and then halfway through 2020, we had the combo punch of COVID and the Netflix TV show, which shot us even higher with growth. At that point, there were 3 partners left. Originally 4. There were 3. We had a difference of direction. One wanted to be done with it. 2 of us didn't want to. Didn't make financial sense for the 2 to buy out the 1. And we looked for a partner that spoke the same language as us. Found one. They did. They bought us. We stayed on for an agreement of 3 years. But we were all kind of vibing and talking the same language, so it was exciting, and we thought they would take us to the next level of growth. They were a SPAC. Everybody knows the stories of the valuations and the market caps of SPACs in 2020 when this happened. And then the rest, we sold in 2021, and the market just fell out. And, they had a decent 9-figure market cap, and in the course of less than a year, it was seven-digit market cap. And we saw the opportunity, bought the business back, which was not part of the plan, but we saw, just to oversimplify, just an arbitrage situation.
Yeah.
We sold the business for X and we could buy it back for pennies on the dollar. So we did. Now we have it back. Call this Battlbox 3.0. 1.0 was the original. 2.0 was when they owned it, and now we have it back. So yeah, that's the quick.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, not the playbook of what we thought we were going to.
Yeah.
We just kept going different ways.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know there's nuances to stuff throughout all that, but no one thinks, one day I'm going to, take on a partner or sell the business. And then, after that, I'm just going to buy it back for, to your point, pennies on the dollar. No one goes into a business thinking that's going to happen. So it's a very unique situation. Let's come back to that. I've got a question about the Netflix side of things.
Sure.
Because that's very interesting, right? Like, I'm a huge fan of, build out media, become a thought leader in the space, educate and entertain, and then, use that as a tool to sell. Obviously, a Netflix show is about as big as that can get,
Right.
especially in 2020. So, like, what was that? Did they approach you? Did you approach them? What was that whole process like? And then, obviously, did it help?
Yeah. So great questions. And yeah, you see the end result and you're like, oh yeah, this is like, perfect storm. How do you get it? So you have to go back over 3 years, of us trying. So in 2017, we had a company, High Noon Entertainment production studio, reach out to us. And they said, hey, we're watching what you're doing on YouTube. We like it. We have some money from the History Channel to shoot some, and it's funny, this isn't even really a thing 8 years later, but they had received money to shoot a sizzle reel. So just eight short years ago, you get money for a sizzle reel, you then make it, think of it almost like a pre-pilot, you then shop that or get the green light to pay for the pilot, and then you get the green light if that goes well to hopefully run the first season. So they have this sizzle reel money. They come in 2017. We do about 4.5 days of full days of shooting, come up with a sizzle reel. They give it to History Channel. History Channel sits on it for 6 months. Very limited.
Shocker.
Yeah. Very limited interaction. They keep, anytime we try to ask or get answers, just kick the can down the road. Yeah, we're looking at it. Might be this. After 6-7 months, they say, hey, no, we're good, but we appreciate it. Okay, so, we got excited. Now it's not looking good. And then they're like, High Noon's like, we actually have some meetings with Discovery. We think they're probably a better fit anyway. We're going to take it to them. So they pitch them. And, long story short, they sat on it for greater than 6 months, probably like closer to 7 to 8. Where we have anxiety, we think this could be it, and then they tell us no. So we're like, okay. So from them reaching out in 2017, now at this point we're in 2019, started 2019. We're we don't think this is going to happen at this point, and they're like, no, we have a couple meetings set up. This is January. The first one is with Walmart's streaming service, which I don't know if it even exists anymore, but in 2019 they had one, and they were going to compete with everybody else. Yeah. And they had that meeting. We have a meeting with Netflix. To be fair, they had never sold Netflix before. High Noon Entertainment, they have 2 big feathers in their cap. They have Fixer Upper, which is huge, and it's the cool thing about it is it's very similar in the sense that they followed kind of the model you spoke about a moment ago of like education, entertaining, except they didn't, besides their actual business, they didn't have the business they have today where they're in Targets and have their own line, but that gave it to them. So they have that in their hat, and then they also have Cake Boss, which is another big hit of a dessert baker that has a show, and now he's got his vending machines. There was a cake vending
Duff
machine.
Something, right?
Yeah.
So his last name.
No, that's the guy. So they have both of these, so we feel good about them. But they're like, we've never sold a Netflix before, so we'll see. So they meet with Walmart. Walmart is same vibes as everybody else. Yeah, this looks cool. We'll let you know. And all they're asking for is money for a pilot. They meet with Netflix, and Netflix is like, well, we don't pay for pilots. Like, how about we just, and basically in the meeting, how about let's just agree on a budget for the first season, and then we want right of first refusal on the next 7 seasons, and we own this. This is a Netflix original series. They came out of their meeting, they're like, we think this is going to get done. Like, okay. So within a few weeks, we have a 125-page legal agreement from Netflix. We're like, oh wow, this is legit. What do? We start asking, does anybody know an entertainment lawyer? We find when we get recommended, and this guy's big thing is Jim Cantor, the Weather Channel guy, the hurricane guy.
Yeah.
He's a client, and that's like this big guy's big home run, which is cool. Anyway, we give it to him, redline it, costs us like $8,000. We feel confident. We redlined it. We send it back to Netflix a week later. 15 minutes later, they reply and they say, hey, sorry for missetting expectations, but this is the Netflix agreement. There's no red line.
Yeah, you can't negotiate this.
No, we don't negotiate. This is the agreement. If you want it, we'd love to have you, but we're not going to redline a single page. So we're like, okay, make a couple tweaks. We make just some decisions. I was down to be in the show originally, even though I wasn't a fan of the character they wanted me to be. Is going to be like the city slicker that was like, quit spending all this money. But, it's entertainment. It's fake reality. The asks were a lot. I was out afterwards, but we had four team members that were in, signed the deal. The back half of 2019, all 6 months filming, like 60 hours a week. So all those guys weren't basically able to work during that time. They came back early 2020, just to 2 weeks of just filming some additional shots for continuity and to wrap it all together. Then Netflix went radio silence on us. We didn't hear anything at all. They came to us in April, 4 months later, and said, hey, we're thinking July 4th weekend. This is the art. This is what we're thinking. It's very, very, very patriotic, which the actual end result isn't, which is the last little curveball. We're going to call it Southern Survival. We're like, okay, cool. So we start ordering. We go all in on manufacturing. We're manufacturing a line of Southern Survival stuff. Like we're going. And we can get it all in time. It'll all get in right before the July premiere. Forecasting, literally throwing a dart at the board. How do you even measure this? There's similar case studies, Duck Dynasty, but theirs was a weekly new episode drop as opposed to it's 2020, people binge it all at once.
Yeah.
We make a guess. We think we're good. And then as we get a little bit closer, we have the George Floyd stuff happen. Mm-hmm. And everyone's a little bit, there's chaos in our country. And people aren't happy, and they come to us and they're like, patriotic isn't really a thing that we want to release right now. So they're like, we're gonna make some edits to the thing. They remove all the American flags, they remove any USA patriotic vibe of the whole thing, and then a couple of days later they're like, we don't know about the title Southern Survival. And we're like, we just went all in on branded Southern Survival gear. And they're like, yeah, we don't know about the title. We don't know if we're even going to air this right now. We need to do some thinking. And we're trying to plead our case, but at the same time, we're talking to talent managers because that's all we're viewed as. Yeah. We're viewed as talent. They won't even have a conversation with me. They will only talk to the 4 people on the show. Mm-hmm. And they don't, Netflix is too big. It's not like this guy in the talent department is going to go out on a leg and reach out to, 4 orgs over and say, hey, these guys bought millions of dollars worth of inventory. Should we take that into consideration?
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care. We learned that quickly, that we were just never dealing with people that spoke the same language as us from the business side. But then they made the decision. We're going to keep it. We'll call it Southern Survival. We're still going to go July 4th weekend, and we launched. Quick answer on your latter question. We were getting about 125,000 unique visitors a month, leading up to the premiere. The month of July, 2020 we had 1.2 million unique visitors. We
I'll
saw
do it.
massive increase. Now, to be fair, they didn't all behave in the same way, right? We're talking
Oh
targeted
yeah.
traffic. They're buying one-time stuff. They're not buying the membership. But still, when you 6x traffic, even if they perform at about half of expectations of normal traffic, which was accurate, it's still a big windfall.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a long answer, but yes,
That's crazy.
yeah.
So, I mean, obviously this is a exaggerated version of what every brand would love to do, because that's such an interesting opportunity. Would you do it again?
Um, the answer is yes. Um, it was not easy. There were a lot of, you know, throughout the process of unknown, not being in control of the situation. The fact that we would get, copied in to conference calls with Netflix, and then they would remove myself and others out that weren't on the show. There was a lot of frustration. But at the end of the day, Netflix paid for the show. It still sits there. I would say our post-purchase survey today, still about 5% of our new members, new customers that come in, they still, where did you first hear about us? Netflix TV show. So it's very long
Yeah.
in the tooth. So I would say yes, absolutely. But it wasn't like it wasn't a cakewalk, and
Yeah.
there was massive frustration a lot of times during it.
Yeah. Well, I know that developing media is obviously a forte of yours. For those of you that are listening and not watching, I can see the YouTube plaque behind your shoulder. So, like, I know that this is a common approach for you guys. Is it something you still lean into because of that? You know, obviously it's entertainment and it's education, but at the same time, it's that community building element. So, is it still basically what you lean in on in terms of kind of developing net new customers?
Yeah, no, 100%. So we still view, traditional digital advertising, and traditional advertising for us really is mid of funnel. There's
Mhm.
some that's top of funnel, but for the most part, our top of funnel is organic content.
Yeah.
Whether it's the TV show, which is a sliver still, but most of it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, short form videos. Uh,
Mhm.
so we're for being such a small business, relative, it's wild. We have 3 full-time video editors, which is very unusual for a
Yeah.
small
For
D2C brand.
yeah.
But it's because we're constantly doing content. We have a full-time creator. We've looked at hiring additional full-time creators. So it's definitely part of our DNA and our secret sauce, if you will. In fact, we analyzed, and we used AI to help us with this. We analyzed all of our short form video posting content, that we posted in all of 2024. We did this in January and February, dumped it in AI, and just analyzed the data. And we saw that not all platforms, but some platforms, we saw that, um, if we increase the frequency on certain channels, the output would
Mhm.
be greater. There's some channels where it's not doesn't work that way. If you post too many times in a day, it gets watered down, and you're spreading the views
Yeah.
over multiple. But we found direct correlation. Um, TikTok was the leader that increased frequency will actually net more results. So February 1st, we doubled down and we increased all of our content output by about 80%. Um, and it's not like we'll see the results instantly, but the goal is
Yeah.
more top of funnel. We'll be able to test the theory probably 120 to 150 days in. We'll have enough data to understand, given the buying cycle, and
Mhm.
hopefully that's part of our next unlock.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely it's a if you have the means to do it and the creativity to do it, which is obviously one of the big sticking points for a lot of brands, it's
Yeah,
hands down the best way to do it. Because if you can get that organic traffic and you get those types of views, all you have to do from a paid advertising perspective is middle of funnel, because
right.
you're basically already covering all of your bases, and those CPMs are typically wildly lower even when you
Yeah,
factor in production costs.
Right.
So it's a pretty it's a genius move if you have the ability to do it. So you've doubled down on the TikTok side. I assume you're probably also leaning in on like TikTok Shop and advertising on that channel also. How's that going?
Yeah. So TikTok Shop, we started it about we went live January of last year.
Mhm.
It took us about a year of learnings and mistakes. We were just trying to figure out how to scale it because it's not our traditional customer
Yeah.
at all, and it's not only a different generation, it's a different customer, it's a different household income demographic.
Yeah.
You know, our like direct site traffic, our core business, average order value is typically $85. Average order value for memberships is $140. TikTok Shop, we finally found our sweet spot. Average order value is $20, which
Yeah.
is
That's TikTok.
wildly different. And
Yeah.
we finally got. We believed in January of last year when we launched, it was definitely a 7-figure channel. We just didn't know how we were going to get there. We figured it out. March was our first month, was our best month ever. We did right at 100K. We'll do slightly over 100K. Knock on wood. We're over 50 and we're halfway through in April. And we still know next steps to scale further. So we're figuring it out. It's just interesting because we can't look at the whole big picture on TikTok Shop because of the price point, because it's different demographic, because they don't, we have ways to get them over into our ecosystem and they don't necessarily make further purchases. So we have to be
Mhm.
profitable on the channel by itself, which has been a lot of the challenge.
Yeah.
But still, eyeballs are
Yeah. But you're thinking based on that, the way that consumer's acting, it's gonna end up most likely being, obviously it's a lower average order value at the gate, but are you thinking it's also gonna be a significantly lower like lifetime value over time, or is it something you're kind of building into?
significantly lower for the cohort in general. Now, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. There's the little bit in that cohort that
Yeah.
they are our customers, but you have to squeeze so many more TikTok Shop customers to find the Battlbox gems in there. There's just not. It's not the
Yeah.
same ratio as other channels.
Yeah. And it is amazing. Almost every brand I know that's successful on TikTok, it's because they figured out either they figured out how to talk to that audience because it's not only is it a different audience, it's a different platform, and to fit in, it's a different approach. But then it's also the products being offered. It's like that $20 price point is perfect. Anything over it, it's tough to get anything to actually move on there. There's not enough education on the platform and consistency to be able to stay on top of them. So
Right.
that doesn't really shock me. That's interesting. Look, obviously, I really appreciate all the time. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're super busy. You've got a ton of content to create. And now we've got some more for you. So I'd love to wrap this up and give you a moment here, let everyone know where they can find out more about you and, of course, more about Battlbox.
Yeah. So Battlbox, Battlbox. You can misspell it in a Google site will still come up. Yeah, we're on all socials. TikTok is our largest with 1.1 million. YouTube, for those that are watching, we're so close to the gold one. And hopefully we get that this year. That's the goal. We've been close though for a while. So all social channels were there. Myself, I'm probably most active on LinkedIn, and then onlinequeso.com is my blog, which I'm 80% of the content on there, 20% other people in the industry. It's we try to highlight. It's not just about the wins. So like you can go on there and watch our journey or read our journey on TikTok. We were on there for over a year, posting every day, not having
Wow.
much success, and just trying to get learnings until we've eventually popped. But there's lots of losses along the way. It's not just wins, and I think we do a good job on the blog of like highlighting, the L's, and then how we can learn from them if we can at all.
Yeah. Hey, those sometimes are the greatest things to learn about is the losses, because then you can hopefully not make the same mistakes that someone else already did.
There's typically a lot more than wins.
Yeah. John, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being on the show. Everyone who tuned in, of course, thank you as well. Please make sure you do the usual thing, rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff on whichever podcast platform you prefer, or head over to the ecommshow.com to check out all of our previous episodes. But as usual, thank you all for joining us. See you next time. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ecomm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The Ecomm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of the Ecomm Show.